Welcome back to the news, everyone. Today, it's going to be a real fun episode. We've got some AI plans crashing and burning, which is always hilarious. We've got the boss of Denuvo trying to say that it doesn't actually cause problems, and, well, seemingly bad things for the 4060, which, frankly, is, I think, pretty much what we all agree Nvidia deserves, given how they've been treating their recent product line. Okay, let's go into it then. Denuvo, well, Ars Technica spoke to their COO. This one is kind of funny. Basically, right, he said he's aware that there's this narrative out there where people actually think that Denuvo impacts and harms their games. Now, it's one of those things with Denuvo, it is on a case-by-case basis. Like, we had an example where, say, Durante, legendary modder, fixed up Dark Souls on PC as an example. Well, they reviewed FF15 on PC and found that there's no difference in performance. But then, for every instance of it being fine, we've got the likes of Overlord Gaming suggesting that it being removed is improving performance, right? Especially loading times. We have situations like Devil May Cry, right? Do you remember that? Where the cracked version of the game that came out like fairly soon after launch, the cracked version just ran way better. People looked at it and thought, well, one of these has Denuvo, the other one doesn't. So he ended up basically saying that, and this is weird, post-release analysis aren't ideal for everyone, even when there's ones that show no problems with the software. He basically said gamers almost never get access to the same version of a game, protected and unprotected. There may be, over the lifetime of the game, a protected and unprotected version, but those are not comparable because they are different builds over 6 months. But ultimately, yes, we need independent benchmarks that everybody can trust, right? Especially the media. One build with Denuvo, one without. Will something like that stop crackers from cracking a game? No. Will it change the opinion of the super entrenched people who have just they've heard Denuvo's bad, they're never going to change their mind? No. But if they actually submit to independent benchmarking on a multiple game-wide basis, build for build, apples to apples, then maybe, I think, the Denuvo guy's going to have something to go with. But right now, saying all of this, these what-ifs and stuff, man, come on. Submit yourself to independent testing, then perhaps we could learn. Next then, I've got an AI disaster for you. This really is the worst of it. So, Geo Media, you've probably not heard of them. What you probably have heard of, though, is Kotaku, Gizmodo, AV Club, The Onion, and some others, right? So, their corporate management informed them that they would be using AI-supplemented articles, right, on their websites. And they really talked about all the benefit of this. This would be an early modest test, saying there will be errors and they'll be corrected as swiftly as is possible. Now, there were errors. It's so bad. Their AI team decided that the perfect place to start was listicles. Because, hey, listicles, they may as well be done by an AI. How could you get this wrong? Simply list all Star Wars content in chronological order, right? Publish that and get your SEO clicks from all the people who just want to know, how do I watch a Star Wars? So let's see. Here it is, right? A chronological list of Star Wars movies and TV shows by Gizmodo Bot. You'll maybe notice something a little bit weird. Star Wars The Clone Wars does indeed happen quite a while before Rise of Skywalker. Rebels also happens before that. So even though much of, there are some bits of order, like chronological, not release order, that they got right, AI was clearly wrong. So not only is this, badly written tripe, it's also just wrong. And with AI being used badly, meaning that a near endless torrent of just false content can be thrown out onto the internet. Really, that is actually kind of worrying. I wonder if that's why the whole dead internet theory has kicked off in popularity recently. Just the idea of all of this endless, just torrents of utter tripe. So the thing here is, though, this terribly written article, this was put on the publication. The people who work on said publication were not really made aware of this. So here's what the deputy editor said. Hello! As you may have seen today, an AI-generated article appeared on IO9. I was informed approximately 10 minutes beforehand, and no one at IO9, none of their staff, played a role in publication. He basically sent a statement to Geo Media saying, hey, this is terrible, this is awful for our authority, our integrity, everything that you would expect. Of course, his personal opinion being Lamau, it's fucking dog shit, which it absolutely is. But this is the thing. Geo Media do not care. You can then go on to, it's a weird name, it's like Gamers Network, but it's spelt with a U. They own a whole bunch of other websites. They've also been doing the whole thing, investigating into AI. Ultimately, what did they get? They got 12,000 page views. Yeah, this is a whole big disaster. So Whitbrook then, talking to the Post, claims that they've never had to deal with, quote, this level of basic incompetence with any of the colleagues that I've ever worked with. Was it worth 12,000 page views? That's definitely one question, but I do have another one for you. March this ahead in 5 years, and maybe the dead internet theory is beginning to feel slightly more true. Like, yeah, it says IO9 bot, right? What if it didn't? We'll just say, that's a badly written article, and it's not even a journalist, that's a blogger. The blogger got it wrong. That's what's going to happen. I definitely worry, like, these will get convincing. These will get convincing to the point where you won't be able to tell. Once that happens, we're going to be in an absolute desert of authenticity. The 4060. Oh, it's a card that makes absolutely no sense. It basically is a card that's saying, hey, there's really no performance upgrade from the last generation, but buy this card and you'll get DLSS 3. Get magical frames at the expense of some more latency. Pretty much what's going on. And the demand doesn't seem to have been strong, because video cards are actually reporting that European retailers are offering up to 6% discount only days after launch. Now, 6%, not that much, but this is a new GPU. Do you remember when those would sell out super quick? And 6% only days after? That's kind of crazy. GPUs are also a fairly thin margin business, so that's just a little bit weird. Then over in Japan, instead of launch day sales, we're getting a launch day sale, as in one person was waiting at the opening. That's for a store in Akibara, which is like, if you're going to buy technology, that's the place to go. Yeah, there you go. In the end, one person purchased at this store. That was it, which is a little bit different from I would assume how that was supposed to be. We do then have the add-in board side of things, right? So your likes of Asus. We would have counted EVGA into this. Obviously, EVGA have dropped out of the GPU game. They cited being furious at Nvidia. I have to imagine there's more to it than that, but anyway. The RTX 4060 Ti that's got 16 gigabytes of VRAM is basically the spec that I think, to most people, is the one that should have been the baseline. It seems like if you were to buy one of these, that would be the one to do. The thing is, though, it's at $499 rather than the $399 for the 8 gig, and apparently some apathy is actually setting in the production side. Again, these are just reports and allegations, but here is from Andreas, who is editor at hardwarelux.de, right? Talk to some add-in board partners. It looks like very few are interested in promoting the RTX 4060 Ti 16 gig in a big way. You can already see that in how many fewer models compared to the standard variant. It's getting close to the RTX 4070. The 4060 Ti with 16 gig of graphics memory should only have one purpose: to quiet those critics who find that 8 gigabytes are not enough. I'll tell you a little secret, it's right, but the better equipped model is not very attractive in terms of price or positioning. So it's one of those things, right? People are going to want the 16 gig card. Everybody's saying, Nvidia too, that the 8 gig card is going to be fine. People don't feel good buying an 8 gig card for that amount of money, yet the 16 gig card costs that much more. Look at all the benchmarking that's been done on this kit, and it is bizarre. It's like if you got a 4090 or something, like, yeah, you get big performance there, but it just seems that for the actual, like, average consumer end of the market, Nvidia have cocked it up. Then the sad thing is that while there is some competition, right, there is some competition floating around from AMD, it's not particularly great. For Intel, I actually recently saw some reports. I think Alchemist is the current wave of ARC GPUs. I think Battlemage is the next one. I did see some reports basically alluding to them cutting down Battlemage and maybe not going fully into GPUs anymore. That is just a humongous shame, because it did seem like within a few generations they truly could have been competing with everybody else, and God knows the GPU market is in serious need of competition. I don't need to show it to you now. We've shown it to you in past videos. The difference in market share between Nvidia and AMD in the GPU space is absolutely crazy. Now, the problem is it's kind of well deserved because a lot of those Nvidia GPUs have brought a lot of performance and really good features like DLSS. I mean, there's an AMD partnership with Starfield. Starfield gets no DLSS. People are kind of pissed because it turns out now we're all leaning in DLSS to be able to play games. Man, it is a rough situation, and to be honest, it doesn't really look like it's getting much better, which is sad, and certainly good for the consoles. All right, I think with all of this bullshit, a lot of people are just going to like the idea of, yep, $500, put the disc in, download the game, it runs, fine, I don't have to care. Now then, Yuji Naka, quick little one, you might not know him. Basically the, creator of Balan Wonderworld, and we kind of meme on him here because he's just a funny boy. He's had a bizarre history. Was he like creator of Sonic, or like he was there at the creation of Sonic anyway? Balan Wonderworld was a big shit show, but the thing here that's funny, right, is he decided to do illegal insider trading. Now, what game did he do his illegal insider trading based on? Well, the answer is Final Fantasy VII First Soldier, a mobile battle royale. And I think the funniest thing is that his sentence of, it's a 30-month sentence suspended for 4 years, that is longer than Final Fantasy VII First Soldier existed for, because it was quickly shut down because it didn't do any numbers. So Yuji Naka, that was not a great thing to do insider trading on, and you've been fined $1.2 million. Next then, SEGA, crypto, are they stepping away? Are they not? Here's a quote to start us off. The action in pay-to-earn games is boring, Utsumi told Bloomberg News. What's the point if the games are no fun? And you might hear that and think, oh, interesting, maybe things are good. Let's go and see what he's fully said. They've shuttered all their own plans for games that are using blockchain technology, and they will withhold their biggest franchises from third-party blockchain gaming projects to avoid devaluing their content. That is a good thing. The amount of brands who are just instantly trying to cash in, I mean, even Team 17 with the Worms NFTs, that, their whole team and then all of their partner studios basically wrote their office emails being like, no. Actually, some developers they even threatened to pull out of publishing stuff because Team 17 were doing that. It's like the hit to brand value that you get by doing one of those cheap cash. It's crazy. Anyway, does that mean that they're not going to continue being opportunistic? Of course not. So they're arguing that they're still happy to license Three Kingdoms and Virtua Fighter to third parties, and that while they're not planning to use their Web3 tech as a part of immediate upcoming development, they're not opposed to the idea in principle. Basically, for the majority of people in the video game industry, what blockchain advocates say may sound a bit extreme. And that's how the first penguin has always been. Basically describing the risk takers taking the plunge, right? The first penguin to jump into the water. Will it get eaten? Nobody knows. We should never underestimate them. So basically then, no Sonic blockchain game. You're probably going to still get your Virtua Fighter NFTs. And if this gets proven in the future, SEGA are not closing the door to it, which, in fairness, if you are dealing with a company that has got stakeholders to care of and stuff, maybe this is like as far as you want to go away from it. I think the bit that matters, though, is they understand it's bad for their core IPs. You think about the decision-making that leads to that, and I think you then understand, yeah, they're not going full steam ahead in this anytime soon. Okay, next then, Peter Molyneux's back. Yes, Peter Molyneux. Now, do you remember games like Populous, Dungeon Keeper, Black and White 2, Fable, all of those? Peter Molyneux. Of course, more recently, Curiosity, What's Inside the Block, which then led to Goddess, which was a tremendous failure. Peter Molyneux, of course, was always known in the industry. He would have these massive, grand ideas. I think it's fair to say that he's a decent bit of a visionary, but to a fault, right? Where it's like, it's all fine to have a vision, but if you then hype something up to the point of just leading people on, they'll obviously be kind of pissed. That's what happened to Molyneux. And I think he then ran into a situation where his ability as an indie to ship product that worked in the market of the 2010s and onwards. It's like you may have had that vision, but you clearly did not have the technical wherewithal, the team, etc. you needed to actually execute in the vision of Goddess. But anyway, he's back. He's making lofty promises, but Peter Molyneux is still quite aware that he is Peter Molyneux, and that means he should be careful. In days gone by, I would just start telling you about the whole game and the whole game design and why it was going to be the most brilliant game in the world, and people looking at this would then get very annoyed and angry. So I'm not going to do that. You got it, Peter. That's it. Hey, I want you to be successful. I want this next game to be good. I want you to prove him all wrong. But yeah, definitely don't make promises. Anyway, while he's short in the details, he still is Peter Molyneux, so he definitely wants to communicate something. He says this. I do think, though, he concedes, we have stumbled, and it feels like stumbling on a mechanic that has never been seen in a game before. I feel like we are exploiting that mechanic in a world and an environment which may be familiar to people, and because it's in a familiar environment, it will be a lot fresher. Oh boy, coming from 22 Cans, who have not exactly had the best track record. 22 Cans is the company he founded. Pretty sure they actually did strip back a lot of staff at one point. What's interesting, though, is this has been in development for 5 years, and Molyneux is actually coding, which is kind of cool. He says it's actually the first time that he's coded since Black and White, like on an actual production game project. So kind of interesting. And with Peter Molyneux, I don't think that he was doing a turbo grift for the money. I actually think he genuinely does get caught up in his own grand designs, and then of course in recent times does fail to deliver on them, and that makes him look bad, and that makes it look like a grift. No matter what way you cut it, what he consistently made was mistakes. But anyway, look, the year's 2023. Peter Molyneux seemingly has a PC console game coming, and it's a mechanic we've never seen in a game before. Who the hell knows? Check back in 5 years and perhaps we'll actually see what the game is. But now that you've been Molyneux, that's it for today's episode. I'll be back soon. See you later.